Yo, so okay, our last video was mad long, so we're gonna try to keep these really short and concise. Hey guys, so during our last video we focused on the note names and we focused how to find the notes on one string. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch that, check it out, watch the whole entire thing. Again, every one of these videos are leading up, so you need the last one to make sure that you watch this one and understand what's happening with this one. For this video, we're going to talk about finger placement and we're going to talk about technique. So finger placement and technique is all about getting the best sound out of the bass while also like using the space in a smart way. I'm going to try to teach you guys the way that I do it. As you grow, you might find better ways to do it for you. But there are certain things and certain techniques that we implement in order to like just move as quickly as possible and be as effective and get the best sound of the bass. One of the first things that I like to call this approach the home approach. And by that I mean every finger has its home. So if you see on the fretboard, there's all these spaces. The frets, like we learned in the last lesson, they're the notes itself and they separate the notes. When I say every finger has its home, I put each of my fingers across the fretboard and each one lives within the fretboard. So if you look closely, I'm putting every one of my fingers within one of these frets and they live within the fretboard. It might be a little bit of a stretch with the pinky, but you're going to get it there eventually. It's training your muscles to learn to be like that, right? And you'll see that I don't cross, as I'm playing, I will not cross these fingers off to the other homes, quote unquote. So if I won't play this right here with my third finger, I'm going to keep it stuck right here. And that way, I'm being effective with the space that I have. Another thing to remember is we want to keep our thumb on the back and kind of use it to pull and balance out the tension from the front. You don't want your thumb all the way up here, you don't want your thumb up here, you don't want your wrist up here gripping like this. You want your thumb down here, and that way it's more comfortable when you move your hand up and playing these notes. So something that happens a lot when we're first learning how to play is something called fret buzz. Fret buzz sounds something like this. You can kind of hear the buzz versus a clear sounding note, which would sound like this. So fret buzz and then the clear sounding note. And that happens because our finger is on the fret, this metal part right here. So if you want to get rid of that, try to keep your finger not necessarily in the middle of the fret, because you kind of lose some of the juice of the note, but a little bit towards the right. See where my finger's at right there? You want it a little bit towards the right. And as you play more, you'll find a sweet spot, but you kind of want it towards the right, closest to the body, and you'll get a thicker, fuller sounding note. So now we're going to talk about right hand technique. So when we're talking about right hand technique, we want to make sure first our placement is correct. So what I do with my right hand, I like to rest my thumb on the pickup. Sometimes your pickups might be a little bit smaller, but I like to keep my thumb on the pickup here and use it for leverage, then pluck with these two fingers. At first, I try to tell everybody, make sure each finger gets a turn with these two fingers. You make sure each finger gets a turn so you're walking with the fingers in a way. And as you get better, you'll switch it up. You might add a third finger, sometimes that happens. But I tend to use these two fingers and I'll walk them. And then if I need to get to one of these lower strings, I'll move down and it'll effectively mute the E string because I'll put my thumb on the E string and I'll play with these two fingers. So when I want to play the E string, I'll move up here, but when I move down, I actually rest it back on the E string and I come play again. Also, the way that you're playing with your fingers, like where the string is hitting your fingers, will change your tone. For example, when we're first starting out, our instinct is to play and pluck upwards and kind of out, like this, and do this kind of thing. But what happens with that is we end up getting a really percussive sound and we don't really get the juiciness of the note. Sometimes that's good, sometimes you want a percussive sound, but the way that when we're first starting out, I think that we need to be focusing on getting a full fat sound, which you can achieve by taking your finger and kind of pushing more down and plucking upwards. The sound is a little thicker. So you want to push down, and you want to get it right here with the meatiness of your finger. And you just kind of pluck down rather than pluck upwards. The last thing I want to talk about while we're here is playing back here. There's a reason why I play up here versus back here, and it's something called tone. I remember in our first video we spoke really briefly about tone. I won't get into it again here, but just think about it as the way that your bass sounds, the quality of the sound of the note. So when I'm playing here, it sounds a little thicker, but when I'm playing back here, it sounds a little lighter. Sometimes you want that lighter sound, but while we're starting, we're going to go ahead and stay up here and try to stick with the thicker sound of the bass. Okay guys, so this video again was about technique, finger technique. Listen, make sure to watch the rest of the videos. Stay tuned for the videos that are coming up, and see you guys in class.